Hi, this is Louis Malin. I am currently the president of the Historic Petersburg Foundation. And one of our core missions, I guess you would call it, is to preserve as much as we can or help with the preservation of the historic streetscapes in the historic districts in the city of Petersburg. One of the core properties to do that is what we now call the Morrissey House at 111 South Market Street, which sits right at the intersection of Market Street and Wythe Street. A lot of the people that travel in and through the city of Petersburg get to see this house. Fortunately, the property went to public auction and elicited some interest, and State Senator Joe Morrissey ended up purchasing the property even before he was elected to his current district here in the city of Petersburg. But since he has owned it, he has engaged a very renowned historic architect, Joe Yates, who you'll see elsewhere on these videos, to design and oversee the restoration of this very important house.
My name is Joe Yates. I'm the architect on the project. We've been involved with Petersburg for quite a number of years. This house was in one of the historic districts, and it was intact back then. Joe Morrissey has bought the house and wants to make this his Petersburg office.
The short story is that I'd seen this property. I'd seen that it was in disrepair, and it had been so for a couple of decades. A lot of people talked about how this house needed to be restored. So I actually bought it at an auction, and I remember my wife came there in a separate car. She looked at it, she was with me, and then she drove by afterwards and she said, "Joe, did you see that house before you bought it at auction?" Then we came in, and you couldn't stand where we are right now because the entire roof all the way down to the basement had collapsed, and the front and the back, and after a tremendous amount of structural restoration, we are at this point right now. But the house right now is as structurally strong, if not more so, and our structural engineer would say probably more so than when it was built in 1860.
Sir, I'm Terrell Turner with Cardinal Property Group. Project manager, more so to help Joe coordinate to get the right material and the right people in place to get the job done in a timely manner. And it was like the whole thing needed to be done. We came in and there was the obvious issues, but as we started, it was more of a process where we had to demo and frame at the same time.
One of the really interesting features of the house that you can see from the streetscape, it's a very imposing house built in the early part of the 19th century, I believe. I don't have all the facts at my fingertips, but when it was built, it has a mansard roof, which is a very distinctive style, and only a very few examples in the city of Petersburg survive. It's somewhat problematic just because of the sloping conditions. It is susceptible to deterioration if it's not well maintained. This particular house, once the restoration is done, the first floor, and actually both of the first two floors, will be available to the public. The State Senator Morrissey intends to have his district office, or one of his district offices, there in the property, so people will be able to come in, visit with him, discuss their needs or issues or concerns with him. At the very top, there are going to be two private apartments, but they really are very nice apartments.
Here's what I'm hoping, that in 4 or 5 months, we'll have an open house here. People will come through that front door and they'll simply go,